Okay, so we're going to talk about towels and how to embroider them. Towels are probably the first thing we ever embroidered on, and if you're new to embroidery, it's a great thing to start. I recommend getting in fact, I recommend when you're new, going to Walmart or whatever, big box store, and getting bar mops. This is a bar mop, and it's a little shorter than a dish towel, a little smaller than a dish towel, but they usually don't have bands on them. This one's just, oh, does it have a band? Well, one side has a band, and it's not consistent because they're cheapies. Okay. And then, so they're easy to embroider on. They're not real thick, and it's a good thing to practice with. They're not real consistent, like you'll not find two towels exactly the same, but they work really well. If they turn out well, it becomes a nice gift. If it doesn't, you give it to your husband to clean the car with it. So, okay. So what you want to do when you've got a towel is that you want to, I would pre-wash it. Go ahead and wash it and put it in the dryer. Treat it as badly as you can, because that will already pre-shrink it. Because a lot of times what happens with towels is that you have this really nice embroidery, and then you go to wash it and towel shrinks and the embroidery puckers up really bad. Also, if you're going to have a problem with bearding, you're going to know it before you give the gift away. What bearding is that the fibers of the towel work their way through the embroidery, and therefore that can be a problem. So that way, if you've washed it before and dried it and it's shrunk as it's going to be, then when you put your beautiful embroidery on, it's going to stay nice through the years to come. Okay, now, in order to minimize the effect of bearding, because especially with a solid embroidery, you know, where you've got a solid fill going across the top, the problem with that is that you get the bearding. And yes, we use a topping, but toppings, usually we'll use a water-soluble topping, and that water-soluble topping is going to wash away, and there'll be nothing between the thread and the fibers of the towel, and bearding happens. Now, what I do, whether it's a cheap towel or an expensive towel, so you decide where you want to put your design. In fact, if this is a dish towel or a fingertip towel is more this size, then you want to put it 2 inches from the bottom. So if you're, usually when I am sighting, I sight from the bottom of the design. So I want the bottom of the design to be about 2 inches. And if it's a 4-inch design, it's going to be here. If you wanted to see what it looks like, I do recommend printing out a template, and this gives you your crosshairs, so that you can use that as well. But, okay, say I want my design somewhere around here, that you want to use spray starch. Not clean and press, not fabric finishing. You want to have as heavy spray starch. And the spray kind, you're going to spray the area fairly decently. And then you're going to take this hot iron and you're going to press this really flat. And the reason you want to use starch is because you want these fibers to stay in place while you're embroidering. So therefore, it flattens those fibers right out, and they're more likely to get caught in the stitching, in the needle penetrating through the yarn, and therefore you won't get the bearding. The other thing this eliminates is a lot of times you'll have your foot hovering above this with the solvay, and if it's a thick plush towel, what happens is the solvay will wrap itself right around the foot, and you end up with a mess. And see, the spray starch makes it stay while you handle it and while you're embroidering it. Okay, and see, it's now once it's done, you just take another damp washcloth and just fluff it back out, and it's ready to use. So that I use on all the towels, and especially if they're the thick towels. You know, the Walmart towels, these are probably, you can get away with not doing that. But with the expensive towels, they're really thick. Now, when you've got a towel with banding, I usually For this one, this is just a washcloth. I'd probably put it in the middle. Or if it was a small letter, I'd put it here. They have rules, but do we pay attention to them? No, we do what we want. It's our embroidery. Okay. And see, you can really tell that it's flattened this one down.
Jerry, what setting do you set your iron on?
This is the cheap iron. It goes on high. If you have a Rowenta or a Lisa, go to like where it just starts to cause steam. That is really flat, and that's going to work. You're going to have a much better stitch out when you flatten out the nap of your towel. For stabilizer, I like to use the rinse away, tear away stabilizer. And the reason I like to use that is I want the back of it to look just as nice as the front. Usually I advise that when you have something that's going to be laundered a lot, like a towel, then I would, or a garment, I would recommend using a cutaway stabilizer. But I don't want that halo on the back of my towel. It just is unsightly. And a tearaway will not hold that design together. It'll make it have jagged edges and whatnot. So this is one called rinse away, tear away stabilizer. And you can tell it from regular tearaway. Put this down so you can see. If you can see how that's fuzzy at the end, the little fibers are will stick out and stay with the embroidery. What this is this is a hybrid. It's made with the tearaway glues, but it's using rayon fibers. So most of it tears away out from underneath, but it leaves the little fibers behind. And then when you wash it, or when you wet it, let it sit a little bit, and it'll just, all this just pulls away and leaving those little rayon fibers caught in the embroidery. Is it as good as cutaway for maintaining the integrity of a design through the washing process? It's not as good, no, but it's better than nothing at all. But it's what I use the most for everything. I'm getting to use that more than anything else, unless it's for a t-shirt. When it's a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something, then yes, I will go and use cutaway. And we'll talk about that more in September or in a couple of weeks when we talk about stabilizers. You want to choose designs that have a solid stitch out. If you have something light and airy, one like this, okay? See how this design is kind of sketchy, that you are seeing just a little bit of lines going through here? That's not going to work out really well. Small lettering doesn't work out on towels because then the stitching just disappears inside of the nap of the towel. You want to select, like if you're doing a monogram, you want to select a monogram that's got a satin stitch greater than 2 millimeters wide. Anything smaller is going to get lost in the pile of the towel. And then, like I said, thin or delicate stitches are going to get lost in the towel texture. Solid patterns and stitching are more stable and are better suited to traditional wear and tear that comes with towels. So like I said, if you're going to use your towel other than having it on display, or a towel that no one's allowed to touch, make sure you avoid designs with delicate stitching. A red work does not work on towels, period. Then if you decide to do something delicate, and it's just something you just got to have, like say I wanted this, okay, if I had put this on a towel, the only thing that would show up would be the bench part, the back, that would all be lost. Also, if you're using a press away topping, and we'll come to toppings in a minute, they'll be hard to remove from these small spaces. And so this one, if you're going to use something like this, I would use something called a knockdown stitch. It's something you put in the background of your towel so that it'll hold the nap back. What you're doing is you're creating a virtual solid fill over the whole part of the area of the towel, and then you're putting your embroidery on top of it. And to me, it always looks kind of thick, and I'm not real thrilled with it. If I have something like that, then I would go ahead and use bridal tooling. Like, say if I were doing navy blue towels, this is bridal tooling. Okay, say it says really super thick Nordstrom ones that those velour towels that will beard every time, is that if you use this as a topper as well as the solvay, it's going to hold it, and this will not come out at all, and you have to cut it away from the outside. But if it's the same color as the towel, you're not going to notice it at all. So I've used I have little squares of this stuff all over in a drawer over here of different colors. Okay, for the needle, you want to use a size 14. Bar mops, 11s and 12s will be fine. Nordstrom or really thick towels, use a 14. Okay, toppings. Toppings are important because of the bearding, also because of the stitch quality. It's like just like a t-shirt knit. If your needle hits on top of the yarn, you'll be able to see it. If it falls between two yarns or two little loops of the pile, it's going to disappear and it's going to give you jagged lines. So a topping forces, when you put the topping on, it forces the stitches on top of the on top and won't be dug in. So it gives it a little extra loft, gives you a lot better stitch out. And you're going to use a topping on anything that has any kind of a nap, to include t-shirts and sweatshirts. And there's two basic kinds. There's, I think they call it hydromelt. I don't know. This is nothing but starch that's dried and on a layer. And this can be used over and over and over and over again. You can use this a lot. And this completely dissolves away. The easiest way to dissolve this is when you're done, take a damp washcloth and just pat it, and it's going to stick to the washcloth and is completely removed. Now, this dissolves away and does not prevent bearding. There's another kind, which is a press-on one, and it's got these little nubbies on the back. And this one also acts like a barrier because it is removed by, I'll just put this on top here. This one removes with water. And this one is a heat away, and it goes away with the heat of an iron. It'll stick to your iron, but if you take your towel and you rub it, it just rolls off into a bead that you just throw away. And it doesn't mess up your iron. And this is like a clear plastic. This acts like a barrier. So therefore, this does not wash away. Most of it tears away, and the iron takes the rest of it away. See how it, see it better on this one. It just, but the iron has to have direct contact with the plastic in order for it to come away. This one acts as a barrier. This will not beard through, the towel will not beard through this stuff. And you can put this in the washer and the dryer. If you want a copy of this handout, just let me know and I'll send it to you. I think I had given it to you last time we did this subject was 5 years ago, and I still have it. So if you're doing big bath sheets, then, and you're doing like a 3-letter alphabet or a monogram, the monogram for the big bath towel is going to be about 4.5 inches high, and you're going to place that 4 inches above the hem or 3 inches above the border. So here's a towel. This one has a band, so I'd put it 3 inches above, and it would go in the center here. If you have a regular bath towel, then you're going to use the 4-inch high monogram, and it's the same, and it's going to go 4 inches above the hem or 2 inches above the border. Hand towels, you're going to limit the size of that monogram to 3 inches, and you're going to place that 2 inches above the hem or 1 inch above the border. Fingertip towels, which is like what I would consider this one, is a fingertip towel. This one has a border, two sides. One side has a border, one side doesn't. Okay. If I were using the border, the one with the border, it would be 1 3/4 inches from the bottom or 1 inch above the border. I'm talking about the bottom of the monogram, not the top, not centered. You're not centering the monogram here. This would be the bottom of your border. And then a washcloth, they're saying that you would put it 1.5 inches above the hem or 1 inch above the border. But some people like to put them in the center. Some people like to put them in the corner. It's up to you. Okay, hooping towels. Well, some towels you can't hoop. Let's just say this one I could hoop. It's nice and thin. So how I would hoop that, if you can hoop your towel, it's best to do so. Okay, so how you can hoop your towel is take this in quarters, note how thick that is, then open up your hoop. And if you hold it in one corner like this, that way you can see that better. And you open this till you can see about that same thickness. That's a good place to start. You can mark it with your blue pen, however you want to. You mark your placement. I'm going to use a snowman. I say I wanted it right here. And I have a 3-inch design, so always make your hoop a little bigger than the design, because that way you've got some wiggle room in case you don't get it just right. This is a fingertip towel, and the chart says it's ideal to put a monogram 1 inch above the border or okay, I'm going to guess 2 inches. Okay, it says 1 3/4 inches. And my center, this would be, about like that. Okay. So I would hoop this, about like that. Get it as straight as you can. And then get that somewhat in the middle. Push it into the top. And is it enough? Nope. I didn't guess enough. See, this is why towels are sometimes hard to hoop. So that would be ready to go. So now this would be the bottom of my towel. So when I would target it, say I was going to put this there, this would be right here. Okay, and then we have the 9. Let me get, I need a pen that's dark. Here we go. Okay. When we have our targeting on our computer or on our sewing machine, we have the little box that looks like this. 9, 9. See that? This is what we usually target it with. Okay, this is my center. And this, if you're using your scanner, if you're using the snowman, they look like this. I think that's how they look. I'm trying to remember. And then the center. We would target this one. We would use that scanner to look for the bottom of the snowman. If you are using your needle placement, you're going to, again, you can put it at the bottom, not the top, not the center. Just make sure you match up, because if you try to put your center down here, it's not going to work. It won't let you go that far. So you would put your topping on the top and stitch away. Say it's a little too thick to hoop. So I usually will take it and give a fold. You just hoop this. And then you've got your crosshairs here. And you hoop. And you just hoop your stabilizer. And that could be, you could use the sticky back stabilizer. Although I have another trick for sticky back stabilizer. If you're using you don't have, I don't like sticky back stabilizer. It gums up my needles. I prefer to use my regular stabilizer and spray it with KK 2000. And then take your towel and I'd fold it right sides together, line up where I want it. This would be my center of design. Then I line it up, spray it. It's sprayed, so I pat it down, open it up, pat it down really good. Now, what I like to do with towels like this, because as this is moving around, this is going to lift off. So what I do is I'll take pins, 4 pins, and I'm pinning them to the outside of the hoop, to the stabilizer. See, here's the stabilizer, outside the hoop, pin it. Okay, so now when this moves around, it's not going to disturb what's going on in the center and that you won't get any pulling. Then you can put your topping on the top. And you should keep this tight, the water soluble, keep it in a Ziploc bag because it's going to get brittle. And so if I wanted it to stay still, I could either, if your machine has a basting function, you can use the basting function to just hold it in place while it bastes it on top. But if you don't want to do that, then we take a little sponge and wet it and just dab your towel like in the corners. Oh, too much there, and it will stick. Hold it down for a second. Let it get good and adhere. Now that's going to stay. If you have problem with the foot, with the solvay wrapping itself around the foot, this is, if you haven't pressed this down, this can happen. But what you can also do is raise the foot on your machine, make it go a little higher. Okay, now if you're going to use the sticky back stabilizer, and one of the reasons I don't like to use it is the fact that it pulls the pile out the back of the towel. So then what I would use is I would spray on a piece of this stuff, and it can be just a small part. If you're worried about it sticking to that stuff, you'd spray a piece of this onto the back of your towel and spray that down really good with that KK 2000 spray. It's best to use the KK 2000 spray because it's air dissipatable and it will go away completely with water, or not with water, with air. After 2 hours, you can just lift off the paper and it's fine. If you use the 505 spray or quilt basting spray, then it's going to stick and you have to wash it to get the stickiness off. So you would have this stuck. Then you would hoop this stabilizer. Okay, I'm going to just hoop the sticky back stabilizer. Here it is. Paper side up. This is also hard to hoop. It's so stiff. That's okay. Take my pen and I'm going to score. Do this on a flat surface because you will go all the way through it. Okay. Now set that aside for a minute. And I will take my towel and spray the stabilizer. I also like this one better than the KK, the 5000, because it's not as strong. I'm doing this in the house. And there we go. See, now you could even mark on the wrong side if you wanted to. Use pencil. So here's my center. Okay, then you would take your hoop. The reason I put the spray on this is to protect the pile. So I fold this in half. Okay, and here I can see the crosshairs. So I press this side. I press this side. And now that's ready to stitch. And then when you're done, it's going the sticky stabilizer is sticking to the tearaway, and therefore it's not pulling the back of the loops through the back of the towel. So it'll come off like this and not tear up your towel. It'll tear this up, but it's not going to tear up the towel. Works really well. Okay, now for the last way of hooping is with the new magnetic frames. And so we had a couple of ladies ask, how do we get this magnetic frame to work? I'm going to remove all of my pieces, put them to the side. And it doesn't matter, I'm using the 5x7, but this is going to work on no matter what size of the new magnetic hoops, because these are wonderful hoops. I really like them. On the back of the hoop, and it's hard to see this, but right there in the center is a little triangle on each of the 4 centers. I took a Sharpie marker because it was hard to find, and I just made it darker, and then took some rubbing alcohol and wiped the rest of it, and that way I got a nice clean line that's not going to wash away. So I know where the center parts of my machine are. So what I can do is I will find my centers as close as I can get it here. And I'm going to reach inside, and I'm going to put one on here. Okay. Now that will keep the rest of it still while you work with the towel. Okay, say I want my center here. Okay. I'm just eyeballing it, but I want to fold this way. So here's my center here. So I come over here. I'm over here. All right. So I reach in. Okay. On this side, where the stabilizer is, where I've already put the one magnet, I'm going to put the other magnet beside it. Oh, there it is. And see, now that's stuck and it's going to hold it. Keep it still while you put the rest of this down. And I'm going to go on the short sides first. And now I've got that side adhered and this side adhered. So now everything's nice and straight. I can take it and do the top and the bottom. Okay. And last, I will go over here and remove the one that I put earlier, because now the rest of the towel is all nice and stable. Of course, you probably need that pry bar thing that came with it, because I can't get this out. Come on. Goodness. They're very strong magnets. There. Either that or I'm very weak, which is probable. Okay. And now it's It's well secured. Heck, I'm picking it up, shaking it around. It's not going anywhere. And now I'm ready to embroider. So that's how you would set and center. And see, now I've got my snowman in place and it's ready to stitch. I didn't even bother to put the snowman on there straight in the first place, but you got the idea. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, see you guys Thursday night. We're going to be doing perfect placement. So we're going to be how to target your embroidery on your machine. And I will see you. If you want to watch it on Facebook, you can. If not, you want the Zoom link, send me an email. I'll send you the Zoom link. Okay, we'll see you guys.